Today's episode is on responsibilities, not shirking them, and how to understand how to give more to become more. Hello everyone, today we're talking about giving more to become more. We're going to talk about sacrifice and most importantly responsibilities. Responsibilities can sometimes feel like a heavy word, but your responsibilities, your action, the way you interact in the moment and in the cosmos is really your karma, the things, your doingness and the ripples that you make. Really important to understand. So as always, I'm going to begin with a quote on the subject, and that quote is, "To give anything less than your best is to sacrifice the gift." I'll say that again. To give anything less than your best is to sacrifice the gift. We hear this all the time, you've got to give your best. I'm not talking about struggling and striving, I'm just talking about giving your best in this current moment. Whatever is your best, whether it's cutting a carrot, or whether it's changing the television station and pressing the button all the way down so you don't get angry and shake the remote, is really important because it's your only chance in reality to do those things. You often hear me say, what you do sometimes, you do always. And I find that really profound. So today I want to talk about giving your best and the responsibilities around that. And I'm going to begin with one more quote. And that quote is, "Wisdom is choosing a greater happiness over a lesser one." Buddha. So the Buddha understood that lots of things will make you happy in life. For a lot of people, driving a fast car and just missing missing some obstacles is going to be a lot of happiness. But ultimately, that person can't do that forever. They'll need to choose something more sustainable to be happy. And the Buddha instinctively knew that. Personally, for me, the challenge for me getting started or taking on my responsibilities or sacrificing was I overthought what I had to lose. When someone said, "Oh, can you help me on Saturday?" I think, but on Saturday I want to do this and I want to do that, and no, I'll lose this and I'll lose that, and I'd really think about what I had to lose. And I probably dealt with this the best by reading the Bhagavad Gita, which I'd recommend everyone reads, the 14,000-year-old text. And the Bhagavad Gita is a story of Arjuna who's about to go into war against his uncle. And he stops and he freaks out and he wants to leave. And he has a conversation with Krishna on the battlefield about his duty, what has come into his life, just doing what is there and without thinking but coming from a great place. And it really helped me understand that, these lessons, these sacrifices, these things that I need to do in my life are really important to creating the fabric of my relationships with everyone else. And probably Krishna's best advice was do the work. That is, humans, the part of a lot of human is action. You must do action on earth, but don't be tied to the fruits of that labour. And it's a really good point. Is quite often we don't want to get things wrong because we might not hit budget, we might not want to start something until it's perfect because we're so obsessed with the outcome of that situation, when the outcome is a thought process. The process that you're in is where you're living, that's where you're being, that's what you should be doing. So how do we do this? What are the 6 ways to give more to become more? Well, number 1, don't wish it was easier. Don't wish things were easier. And if you were Jim Rohn, you'd also say at the end of that, wish you were better. But wishing things were easier is a rejection of the current moment, which is all you have. All you have in your life is the current moment. And saying it's too hard, I wish it was easier, is a rejection of what is. Number 2, life is a negotiation with the universe. If you don't like the current moment, accept it and find ways to make it your way. The negotiation with the universe could be very simple as, I'm going to take this, what's happening to me right now, it's not great, I'm going to take it, I'm going to use it to make me stronger, and the universe will make you stronger, it will work through you. Number 3, Persephone. So a lot of the great stories ever written were all about sacrifice, whether it was rolling the stone back up Mount Olympus, or whether it was the story of Persephone, which is my favourite. And I'll briefly explain that story. Persephone was the daughter of Athena in ancient Greece, and she was beautiful. She's goddess of spring, so she's going to be hot, right? So she's cruising around in all her hotness in a toga, and she's making spring happen. She's pixie dust all over Greece, and flowers are coming out of the ground, and trees are ripening, and the crops of the farmers are all coming to the end of their cycle. And everyone loves Persephone because she's just cool. She's just out there giving springtime. Now, being a glamour as she is, she gets noticed by Hades, king of the underworld. Now, Hades can't operate in Greece. He's the king of the underworld, but he plans a trap, and he traps Persephone and brings her down to the underworld to become his wife. So he says, "Listen, you should be my wife." She says, "No way, you're the god of hell, I'm the god of spring, this is never going to work." And Hades was a belligerent individual, and he said, "Well, I'm going to lock you in this cage until you agree to be my wife." During that time she was locked in the cage, spring wasn't available to ancient Greece, so the crops would die, the farmers wouldn't have enough food, the society was really breaking down. And during that time, Athena was asking everyone to help her daughter. He was saying, who's going to go down and get my daughter for the goddess of spring? And no one would help Athena because they felt that Hades was too powerful. And during this, while this is all going up on Greece, she's in her cell and she finds the key. Now, she unlocks her key and realizes that eventually if she leaves her cage, Hades will find out. He'll freak out like the controlling boyfriend he is and probably destroy Greece. So what does she do? She sneaks out of her cage, goes to Greece, sprinkles fairy dust, gets spring happening. But after 3 months of being on Earth, she realized Hades will come back and check her cell, so she sneaks back into her cell. So she gives up 9 months of her life in order to create 3 months for other people. And it's such a story of sacrifice. Without that, we wouldn't have the season of spring, and therefore all the plants and the fertility and all the things that are great about life would eventually go. But it required the sacrifice of someone. Great stories like that that really allow you to link into why sacrifice can help and how it can help on the broader picture. 4, measure success and what you had to give up to get it. I think it's great when people buy a new car. I think it's fantastic when people get a dream house. I just hope they're not looking at the value of that item based on, the monetary cost. I hope they're looking at that on the cost of their life, what they had to give up. I know people who've given up 30 years of life to stress in a job they didn't like to get a house they're happy with for a little while, but then start comparing it to others. I wouldn't do that. I think that when you look at what you had to give up to get what you've got today, it makes you much more strategic about what you buy, and it makes you much less to fantasize about expensive things, knowing that you're going to have to give up years of your life, when in reality, you could focus on right now and enjoy right now. Number 5, giving is the ultimate satisfaction. So, Carnegie, Rockefeller, Gates, all these individuals were ruthless business people who went through the majority of their life taking. These guys that we like to high five now, like the Bill Gates and the Zuckerbergs. The reality is these people weren't always great people. However, they learned something over their business time. They learned the unsatisfactory nature of the amalgamation of constant, continual wealth at the point of greed. They knew that it was soul-destroying. And even when they had it all, they realized it wasn't enough. And what did they all do at that point? We should learn from these lessons, because we love to put all these blokes on pedestals and say they're fantastic. So what did they learn? They learned that giving was more important than taking. Some of them, it took 50 years, whether it was Bill Gates, it took 50 years, but now he's giving back at an extraordinary level. And if we consider these guys to be role models of captains of industry, we should also look at the decisions they make long term. 6, everything you worry about losing is an illusion. You can't take it with you. You were born with nothing, you go out with nothing. Everything in between is gravy. The only thing, whether you have nothing in between, net, you didn't lose anything. If you have a few things, you have clothes and food and clean water and family and love, you scored big. Everything must go back in the box. You've heard the story that I told about Monopoly, where after winning so many rounds, you put all the money and all the things back into a box and it's meaningless. You can't take what you think is so important with you, therefore let it go in order for it to come back in. We need to give more. I guarantee you, the more you give, the more you do, the more comes back to you. It's a universal law. It's definitely something to think about, to ask yourself, how much are you giving in order to receive? I can't wait to see you tomorrow. Until then, goodbye.